What is up? Oh, fuck.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Different Lens Podcast. My name is Daniel. I'm your usual nerd. I like games, movies, and music, and this is
Juan Felipe Sierra. I've been in the entertainment industry for the past 13 years, and I just smacked my hand against this thing. Okay, so...
What a great intro.
What a great
intro.
Yeah. So what do we have today?
All right. So today, we have a very cool episode. Because when we started this journey, our first episode, we talked about why is there so many reboots and remakes all the time, and it got to the point where we made a whole episode of it.
Correct.
So today we're gonna actually go through the process of coming up with basically our own ideas and really see how difficult it is and how doable it is, and then we can obviously talk a little bit between each other as to maybe why it would work, why it wouldn't work, and kind of give an idea behind it. And you guys can join us in the comments down below and let us know, what do you guys think of our ideas, or even if you would change something or add something, or you think our idea is perfect.
La crème de la crème.
Yes.
So just to give a little context for the audience out there, in Hollywood there are around like between 10,000 to 15,000 scripts every year to try to get a movie made.
It's wild.
Correct. That's why sometimes some of the wackiest, weirdest, most out there ideas are the ones that are being made, is because either it's an established property, it's a sequel, or meaning established property, meaning like a game, a book, or something like that.
Yeah.
A sequel of another movie, or something that is just so out of left field that it would be criminal to pass it.
Right.
So,
but it's also crazy to see that there are so many possibilities of ideas and everything out there, yet they choose to go for some that I guess plays very safe a lot of the times, where, again, essentially that's what kind of we discussed on the first episode, that a lot of ideas are so good, but they always choose to go for the very
generic ones,
yeah. Right? But we've seen the success of some of these new ideas because people are craving, right? And it's out there, right? We're all craving seeing original ideas, seeing new stuff happening, like Sinners came out not long ago. Well, by the time this episode comes out, it's a little bit, but nonetheless, it's a vampire setting, and I think it's like 60s or something like that.
No, even earlier. I think it's the 30s.
Yeah, it's really, it's dated, right? And it has like that soul, and it has a lot of that, which, it's a really cool idea. It remains still within kind of like that horror, like the vampire. Yeah. So it has that familiarity, but also the new to it.
But with a twist.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea of what we're going to do is basically he's going to pitch two ideas for movies. I'm going to pitch two ideas for movies. And then we're going to try to see what we come up with together. And then we're going to do the same thing for games.
Yes.
So if you guys actually have any pitches or any ideas for games or movies or series or something like that, please drop them down below. We would love to hear what you guys have to say, because at the end of the day, like, everybody can have a great idea. You just have to try to like inspire people to get it,
Absolutely.
Even if it's yourself. So okay, let's start with the first
as a matter of fact, I wanted to give a quick thing that I found out today that was really wild. So I don't know if you knew the story behind 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
You know the story?
Yep.
That's a wild story.
Yeah.
So the lady was so obsessed with Twilight, right? She started writing about it, and eventually somebody's like, why don't you just make it your own?
She started writing it on her BlackBerry phone. And then...
And I think it went to a blog.
Yeah, it went to a blog, and then people were like, oh, you should make this, you should make this. And then she eventually made it. Stephanie Meyer, right?
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
No, I think
Erica. But it's a wild idea, and it kind of just goes to show that these ideas can come up, and sometimes it just needs a little backing.
Yeah, correct.
So if you listen to our ideas, hopefully you guys do, maybe there's a possibility of a movie out there.
Who knows?
Or a game. Or maybe nothing. But
if it does, you first heard it here, so keep that in mind.
All right, so we're letting our imagination run wild.
Correct.
Right? So you want to start us off, or do you want me to start?
No, you start.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to start first with an original idea that I had. Well, it's not as original, maybe, because obviously anything that you think about nowadays is kind of, has come up with something, or somebody has done something similar.
It's a theory of the 7 core stories.
Yeah. So I went as far as coming up with a title.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story of Poinciana Drive.
Poinciana Drive.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a story that was heavily inspired for me on the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's an autistic child, right? But I didn't want to go so much into that. So it's basically a love story centered in a young teenager, right, who's autistic, but he's on the high spectrum, right? He's really good at math and all that. But he realizes that he sees a girl and he starts feeling things. He's about 16 years old, and he falls in love with a girl that lives in Poinciana Drive, right? But the thing is, this is an autistic child, so he's trying to understand himself and the feelings that he has,
Right.
because the girl is not autistic. The only thing is that they go to the same school. She's not very good at, certain topics. And this is where it gets interesting. She comes from a very abusive family. So she starts finding she needs assistance with her math school, math classes and everything. So she turns into the most,
perfect candidate for
not even perfect, the most the person that you think she wouldn't even turn to, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of people would shy away from talking to somebody that has
autism or it's in the spectrum
or something, right? And we kind of push those individuals aside, and that's not the idea. The idea is to elevate them.
Yeah, correct.
So it's kind of like a love letter to autism in a way, because it's something that they should be explored more often, I think.
Correct.
And also I wanted to take a little bit of inspiration from the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Okay.
Which is a phenomenal movie.
It is.
With Shia LaBeouf. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful film.
But Peanut Butter Falcon is with somebody with Down syndrome, right?
Yeah, but nonetheless, it's still exploring that and the feelings that they have. People with Down syndrome are genuinely very happy individuals. And they're really awesome. So in this case, again, I wanted to explore that little bit of that idea of autism. And the child is in a house that is just as abusive because the mom is a drug addict. So, but since he's autistic, there's no way for him to say it, or he can't express it. Whereas the girl being with an abusive father, she's able to talk about it. So they form a friendship that you want to have develop into a love story, but obviously things don't work out for them, which is the sad part, but they remain friends. And it's kind of like a story where you just follow their day to day until they grow up a little bit and they're able to laugh about it later on. Just kind of like a heartfelt,
like a bittersweet thing.
Yeah, bittersweet, correct.
Yeah. So can I ask you questions, or should I just go into my pitch?
Yeah, and as you know, I like movies that don't have really the good endings.
Yeah.
So it's heartwarming, or heartfelt, but not the ending that everybody would be like, oh man, I really wanted this to work.
It's kind of that like it reminded me a little of what you were saying with Forrest Gump. It's kind of that Forrest Gump.
That's right.
Quasimodo.
That's another inspiration. So, heavily inspired in all these movies, because I would like to see more of those. Yeah, more exploration of their day to day, not just make it the autistic child or the child with Down syndrome, or just making their there's a really good movie, I forgot the name right now, but he needs to coach a basketball team because he gets into an accident. He's a football player, basketball coach, and he gets into an accident drunk driving. And he is tasked with coaching some young, children that have mental issues. They have Down syndrome, they have a bunch of stuff, autism and stuff like that. And he starts falling in love with the kids as he's playing with them. So it's really heartfelt, and I really like those type of movies.
Interesting. Because I would imagine their arcs are that she is learning more of like mental intelligence, like actual intelligence. And he is developing his emotional intelligence. So it's kind of like she would have to be very kind, very heartfelt or whatever.
Correct. And that's where I would think the abuse would come from, because she is being so neglected, so abused, that she starts to pass into these positive emotions that she hasn't gotten with this child that is trying to understand what love is.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I really like that idea. I really, really do.
All right.
Do you mind if I go into mine?
No.
All right.
If you have no more questions.
No, I mean, not
cool.
for now, not for now. So my movie idea, I don't have a title for it yet, and it's kind of something that
we can come up with one.
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of wanted to write, but I haven't sat down and done it. But it's a pitch that I've had for a couple of years. It's based on my grandfather, who passed away. And the pitch is this. In Colombia, a man's life in the 1940s is saved by his military friend that has been ordered to kill him.
Okay.
So it has historical context in Colombia that we're going to put it in the context of America, where they have Republicans and Democrats. So back in the 40s, 30s, and 20s, if you had a Republican president, then they would hunt all the Democratic elected or the Democratic leaning people. And when there was a Democrat, they would hunt and kill all the Republican leaning people. So it was like that back and forth, back and forth. And my grandfather was very much a liberal. So his best friend, when they were growing up, he becomes a military captain.
Okay.
And a Republican president comes up, and they're like, you have to get rid of everybody in the town that is like left-leaning. My grandfather was very left-leaning. So his friend like went up to him, and he told him basically like, you have till today to leave. Like tomorrow I'm ordered to kill you. Like we shouldn't even be talking right now. So it's kind of that thing of like friends that grew up together, that lived the life together, and how just because of political topics or aspirations or the life that you have to live, they get into different sides, and neither of them is truly the bad guy. It's all about the circumstances.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
What do you have? What questions do you have?
That's a good one. I love a political movie. So what would be kind of the so the ultimatum it would be you leave or I have to kill you.
Yeah.
Do we get a resolution? Do we make it out? Does it have a bad ending?
It has a good ending.
I'm like, bad ending, give it to me.
Fucking shoot him. No, it has a good ending, but it's kind of those like, you have to really see what goes into escaping because due to violence.
Yeah.
We've seen that all the time throughout years and years and years. So kind of also show how difficult life is when you're trying to escape due to violence and get to a new city and try to learn everything basically from brand new. Because if you grew up in a farm and you go to like the most populous city in Colombia, life is different. Life is completely, out of the blue. You're not, working in the fields anymore. You kind of have to like adapt to your new environment. So it's basically that.
Okay. Do they get to reunite at some point later on, or just that was it? So we follow him post escaping
and post escaping.
So we follow him after that too, where he starts creating a family for himself and kind of, I guess, overcoming
adversity of like being homeless.
Yeah, and also the psychological
part of the
war. War, but
yeah.
Okay, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's a really cool story. Now, let me ask you this, because I didn't say anything on the first one, because obviously I didn't think about this. Would you have a dream cast for this one? Like, if you were to just unlimited budget and you're like, hey.
I would cast Colombian people. Like, I would make it as
filmed in Colombia, right?
Right. But I would try to make it as faithful to how people looked at the time. So
1940s, you said?
1940s, 50s, yeah. So I would hire somebody that has that like rugged old look. I can't think of anybody right now, but yeah.
Okay, cool. That's a cool story, man.
Yeah.
I enjoy. I think I would pretty much enjoy watching something like that. It gives me a lot of that, again, political vibe. It gives me kind of like that vibe of that movie that was nominated for an Oscar this year, which was I'm Still Here, which is a Brazilian with the whole...
The architect and whatnot.
Yeah, the whole problem. No, that's The Brutalist.
That's The Brutalist, sorry.
I'm Still Here is a Brazilian movie about the problems that the government had, and they started disappearing people, and she was the wife of somebody important, and they made him disappear. And they always kept on asking her, you have to show your face like you're still happy. Yeah. And she's like, fuck no. So, cool. For my second one, I went to a gangster movie because I love gangsters. I love myself a gangster movie that has a lot of good stuff in it. This is probably like the most uncooked idea, but I think it has potential. So the movie's called The Record Keeper.
Okay.
It's set up in the early 30s and 40s when the mafia was like crazy.
Prevalent, yeah.
So this is a kid, right? Yeah, younger guy who works a graveyard shift in a hospital in medical records. So essentially he keeps the medical records open. He's a kid. He's in the graveyard shift. He has nothing to do other than basically being nosy, right? And at that time, there's no camera. This is a HIPAA violations, but it's kind of like iffy. So he starts going through records, right? And little by little, he starts figuring out that some of these mobsters, so-called mobsters that were gunned down in the streets, they were not there. So they were apparently not mobbed down. They were probably killed, right? Or no, they were allegedly killed. Yeah. But he starts realizing that those bodies were actually being taken away to somewhere other place. So the coroner was kind of like looking the other way. So it starts creating an investigation where the kid is now trying to figure out what was happening, because the bodies of the so-called mobsters that were killed are not there.
Oh,
so now he has like a thriller where he's kind of like invested in it, but he can't go to the cops because he doesn't know what's going on. But the cops, posted that they were killed. Do you remember those images that they used to show with like the mobsters with like the photos? Remember the mobsters?
Yeah,
like,
with the
all shut down and shit like that.
Yeah.
So he was like, we just saw this mobster got killed, but
Where
then
is he?
I'm looking here and it's like he was taken away. So the mobsters were taken out. They were being smuggled out back to Italy or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So the whole idea follows this kid trying to figure this out and trying to see how he can, I guess, bring it to life, but makes it really complicated.
So I have a few questions. The first one, okay, the kid is trying to find out where the bodies are. Is it because they use kind of like body doubles, or is it because like the government is trying to take them away? Or?
That's the question of the movie. That's what we're trying to figure out with the kid as we go. Because he starts figuring this part out, that something is going on.
Right.
But he can't tell who it is. Because again, the government posts photos of like the mobster killed on the floor. It was in the news. It was everywhere. Like, oh, this mobster was killed last week.
Right.
But then he looks at the records and nothing makes sense.
Did he, like, at some point in the movie, does he kind of like is there a mobster, or is there a gangster? Is there somebody that like starts approaching him like, yeah, I know where you work, like, hey?
No, absolutely, because this is a hospital where a lot of these mobsters kept on going. So absolutely there is somebody that's going to eventually come to him. Again, it's a little bit uncooked, but
right.
I'm assuming at some point they're going to come in and realize that somebody's digging through the files, and it's like, all right, why are you digging through these files? Like, you shouldn't be doing this, kid.
You know what would be a great scene? If he has like some papers and then he's trying to look into the records, and you see like the record boxes, and as soon as he's gonna pull the box, somebody else pulls the box from behind him, and he's kind of like,
oh shit, yeah, that would create so much intensity. You'd be like, ooh.
yeah. Like that would be a great scene. Great scene. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So I love like a good detective thriller that you're like, motherfucker, like give me all the clues, like 7 or like yeah. And since you said like in the last episode, in the last few episodes, that you love gore and you love like, would you show like gory shit, or is it just kind of like
bodies? Absolutely, because then now that he's kind of falling deep into this shit, obviously we had to, I guess, at some point introduce somebody who I guess he can trust.
Right.
And now they have to kind of do that detective work. And the kid is just a kid, but he's in the middle of it now. The mafia is involved. He probably involves like maybe an agent, a sleeper agent, or somebody that is in there. And so now like everybody's kind of like starting to figure out that like somebody knows something.
Right.
And so the mafia is obviously going to start like trying to find names. And it's just like everything's trying to come back to this kid. But the kid is like, just doing
just a kid. Yeah. I like it. Cool. I really like it. And what's the name of the
record keeper?
That's awesome. That is an awesome title.
I think it would be cool.
And the movie is gonna be awesome. The one that I have, it's really morbid, and not morbid, but it's really fucked up.
Okay.
The subject matter.
I love fucked up too.
I love fucked up movies. So it's basically a kid that joins a boy band, and the pressures of being a child star and his degradation of his own life.
Love it.
So it would be kind of like A Star Is Born, but the fucked up version. So he gets discovered by an agent, and he gets into this whole group, and you see the group dynamics, whatever, and you start seeing like, their managers are being like kind of creepy to the kids, and kind of him being like just so fucking high that.
That'd be hard to watch.
Right?
And then really hard to watch.
And then at the end, when like they've been going at it a few years, and now he's like, in his like 18 or 19, and now he's out of the group, and like he's trying to still figure out life, but he's had so much drugs that he doesn't know what to do. So you see like the fall, decline, the slow decline.
Wow. Yeah, I think that'll be a really hard watch. Really hard thing to watch,
Yeah.
especially because child abuse and everything is a very delicate topic. I could see that. I could see like a really good cast, and that movie could be nominated for an Oscar,
Yeah.
just like A Star Was,
A
Star
Star
is
is
Born,
Yeah.
because it touches a very delicate topic of substance abuse,
Correct.
of abuse, right, and obviously manipulative individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And then this kid is you said is a boy band, so would it be all of them, or it's just that one kid?
No, you see his journey throughout the whole boy band experience, and then after that,
Okay.
kind of like Menudo when they were like switch cast
Mhm.
members. So it's kind of like this legacy boy
Okay.
band that has been going on for a few years, but a few of them are retiring, so they're auditioning new people.
Okay.
Would
Would you try to make it inspired on a true story, or a true story, or just simply
No, I would kind of tell it like as an allegory of
Okay.
what's going on. I don't want to dig too deep into like the actual stories
Yeah.
because it would break my heart.
Mm.
And I don't want to use anybody's likeness or anybody's life story because I could be telling it completely wrong, and I don't want to
Correct.
misrepresent what it really is.
Yeah. It's funny that because now that you mentioned that The Star is Born, I remember watching that movie. I genuinely felt like he was a real person. And I think that was the great
Yeah.
part of that movie, because every time I was watching, I'm like, man, I felt like an actual star died, like an actual, probably like a singer. Like I felt like it was very biopic. But yeah, like I felt like it was very like on the biopic side of it,
Mhm.
even though he was not real. But
Right.
like I was like, man, like I felt that. Like I love that movie. It's a
Yeah,
great
it's
movie.
such a great movie, and
Mm.
I love like especially that movie how it depicts that like right after his giant concert, he's in a car getting blacked out, drunk, miserable as fuck.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. The thing is that what we talked a little bit about in the previous episodes of getting into that emotional state every single time to play a song or something, or like perform a song thousands and thousands of times, where you're just like, man, like I'm fucking tired.
yeah,
Like this is tiring.
yeah,
I think at least for an actor, or like a voice actor like you do a scene and you kind of move on into the next. But singers are, stuck on a loop for
Correct.
a very long time until
Correct.
maybe the new album comes out and they can switch it up. But for the meantime, they're just stuck on a loop of doing the song here and then going to SNL or whatever
the
it
next
is.
day,
And then they go to
Yeah.
do it there, and then somebody calls them, is like, hey, can you do it here in Europe? And then they go and do it in Europe, and then it's like the press tours.
It's a
and everything.
repetition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
It fucks with your mind, dude. Yeah.
Especially when you say this is emotional songs that really hurt you, and then
Yeah.
you have to redo those songs over and over and over. And I'm sure, again, for a lot of us, we're like, yeah, why?
Yeah.
A little bitch is crying.
Yeah.
And it could be like that, but also at the same time, we have to understand, like, some people are pouring the feelings out there
Oh yeah.
to write something
Yeah.
meaningful for them. And
Yeah, like the
yeah.
example that I gave was oh my god, what's this guy's name? If I saw you in heaven, would it be the same?
I fucking no idea.
It is Eric Clapton in Tears in
Ah,
Heaven.
ah.
Yeah.
Jeez. I was never gonna get that.
Yeah.
I would
So
probably guess like fucking Freddie Mercury. I'm sorry.
no, but like Eric Clapton, like I told the story about the
Mhm,
how
mhm.
he dedicated that song to his kid that committed suicide. So imagine having to repeat that every day for years until he was like, I'm done singing this song ever.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah, absolutely. Cool.
So now for the movie that we would make,
Yeah.
let's do this. Give me a setting
Okay.
and give me the tone. I'll give you the character and the character arc.
Okay. So I would make a tone. I think I would like to make it a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Suspenseful thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's keep it kind of like mystical, like
Yeah.
something interesting. And then you said the setting.
Yeah.
Let's go with Los Angeles in the 60s.
So I love film noirs.
Mm-hmm.
So and a lot of film noirs were in L.A. The character, the character would be like, let's say somebody that like works for, like he's like a maid or somebody like that for like a
Okay.
huh?
A maid?
Yeah,
Okay.
or like a caretaker or something like that from like a super
Wealthy family?
not wealthy family, but like a superstar that everybody loves.
Okay.
And let's say that superstar ODs and they start blaming him
Okay. Okay.
or her.
Okay.
And then the character arc is trying to prove your innocence with all the attention of the media and the cameras and the public and the police and the FBI and everybody on you. And
Okay.
trying to like try to piece your life together, and you're trying to make sure that so it's that thing of like trying to also escape to try to like gather your thoughts, but everybody's on your ass.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have a setting,
Yeah.
LA 1960s,
Yeah.
a thriller, a suspense thriller with a character that is not of the highest,
Yeah. Yeah.
money or whatever. What would you say would be the climax of the movie?
I mean, because thinking about that, the one of the movies that immediately come to my mind is Knives Out.
Okay.
Right, because for me personally, I would add a character that is going deeper to trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's always that one character,
The
like
detective.
one detective that is
Yeah.
like really going at it. So instead of making it one detective, let's make it two detectives that are trying to go both different scenarios. So one of them is trying to defend the maid and saying, well, he was a star, he probably got drugs. Let's try to figure out who gave the drugs.
Mhm.
How did he get the drugs?
Mm-hmm.
Where we can introduce then some of his friends and possibly family members, right? The so-called friends.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like, nah, we're going for the maid.
Yeah. This
because
person did it.
this person did it, and I can prove it. So then the climax would be where they kind of come in and they realize that there is a mutual, they both reach a mutual finding
Mm-hmm.
where the maid fucked up in some place, but then the other one also realized that some of the friends also were kind of
Involved.
involved in it.
Oh.
So now both of them are like, okay, listen, you might be right, but so can I be. Like, so can I. Because
Yeah.
the maid did this, or the guy, or the caretaker, did this that fucked up. And then the friend also seemed like they might have wanted to take too much advantage of this guy.
Yeah.
So now we're like in the middle of like, we reach a point, I don't know what it could be, but what do you think? Like,
Yeah. You know what it
meets
could be? You know what it could be? Because you know that certain, medicines have like deadly consequences if you
Mhm.
cross them. So let's say like the guy was like on cocaine and the other guy gave him like a sedative or whatever. So it
Mhm.
just like gave him a heart attack or something like that. Yeah, so it would be something that like the friends were like, he was just came out of a binge party where
Mhm.
everybody, like all his friends are like still like high as fuck, whatever, and they just leave him and drop him. And when he like when the guy's trying to like having like, oh my god, give me something, whatever, he gives him like something to like calm him down, and the guy just like
Let me throw a curveball here.
uh-huh,
The maid was stealing all along.
stealing.
Yeah. So it was not as innocent because for a
Right.
very long time he was taken away because the as a star, a lot of the time would be spent outside doing things, and the caretaker or maid was also taking advantage.
Like maybe profiting from some of
Mhm.
this like movie props or whatever, he
Like
would like
taking
steal them,
shit,
and
yeah. So now it's like, fuck, like that's why the other detective is so into it. Like, bro,
Yeah.
like there is more to it.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I really like
So
it. I
now
really
you don't
like
have
it.
just the innocent maid. Now the maid is also like, okay, everybody's bad.
Yeah.
And now you're like, ah, shit, like who do we
Who's the worst of it out of
Yeah.
the two? Yeah.
like, or was the maid doing it on purpose? Now we all have like a problem where we're like, shit, man, like I can't.
Bro, I'm loving this. I'm fucking loving this.
What do you think would happen, like in terms of how could you find a resolution to this one? Like, what do you think? How can we pass on to from kind of realizing that the maid was also doing bad shit?
So
The friends and family were doing bad shit.
Yeah,
so
I
everybody
would-
was doing bad shit.
I would put it as like the maid does go to jail,
Mm-hmm.
but not for murder, but for the stealing.
Okay.
So-
okay.
It's both innocent and guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And the friends and the family, whatever, they have the best lawyers. They do get away with it.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
but at least like the person is not like, yes, they, like you can say like, oh yeah, the friends were getting high, whatever, but there wasn't enough evidence to convict them.
Right.
And like the lawyer pulls some like legal bullshit to kind of get
Yeah,
them
they were
out.
like, oh, all of them were getting high,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
All of them were in the same thing, so it's
Correct. And
not their fault.
and it kind of gets that sense of like, that person died and nobody gave a fuck after that. So like the ending could be like, oh man, these guys like, he's dead or whatever, and you could have just the guy at the end just change to a different channel and like not give a fuck about him anymore.
Kind of like a news report where like they're just talking about it, and then the guy's like, yeah.
Do you remember the ending of the Truman Show?
Yeah.
When the guys are like, oh, oh my God, I used to turn into, okay, let's see what else is going on. Kind of like that, like just the callousness of people like, oh yeah, he's dead. All right, let's fucking move on.
I like it.
So
I
now we're going to go into the games category.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'm going to start with this one.
No.
So the first game that I have, it's a game where the whole thing is you break out of prison.
Okay.
But in between you starting in prison and the ending would be getting out of the prison, you have to like make alliances in the prison. You have to start smuggling shit, or you have to start like, doing clothes and then just like smuggling shit in between, or like join a gang, or
okay.
and then you start committing like, you have to shank somebody in the shower, or you have to beat somebody, so you're doing all of this to like gain certain points and gain certain levels. So for example, like unlocking a new area of the prison,
like with the cred and stuff within the jail.
Not only that, but like let's say for example, you weren't allowed to go to the commissary anymore, and now you're able to go to the commissary because now you know somebody that is in the commissary.
Okay.
So you start getting into like learning the whole layout of the prison. So okay, the cops pass around here at like 10 to 2. And you start like recording it, and you start like, okay, 10 to 2, you have to do this, and then your plan, you have to execute your plan, and it could be like in many different ways. You can exit through the kitchen, you can exit through the morgue, or you can, in different ways. But you have to have a bunch of clues and a bunch of shit ready for your escape, and at the end, you escape the prison.
Nice. You have multiple endings. Because you can escape from multiple places.
You could escape from multiple places, and you could also get caught from multiple places.
Okay.
So
would it be kind of like a survival game in a way, because you had to kind of like do things within the jail system, the jail, to kind of like gain the street cred and stuff like that?
Correct.
Or would it be like a more like linear game?
It would definitely be a linear game until, no, it couldn't be a linear game because there's branching possibilities, but like it would tell the story of getting out. But let's say for example, in a cutscene, you're just coming back to your cell, whatever, and then the person that comes in is from your rival gang, bro.
Okay.
And then you have to be like, all right, I'm gonna have to fucking kill you, or you're gonna have to fucking kill me. And like you start fucking beating the shit out of each other, and the guards come in, they separate you, you get thrown in the hole. So you start learning how to like, defend yourself in the hole, or try to like, not go crazy or whatever. So it would be like this whole thing of like a journey to escape. But this person is a really bad person.
Okay.
So you're a scumbag.
So he's not good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You're a scumbag, and that's why you have to make like shitty alliances, and you have to lie to people. You have to, lie to the cops, to the guards, lie to like you have to start bribing cops. But if you bribe them too much, they're gonna fucking.
Do you have like a moral meter, kind of like not a moral meter, but like you have like a meter of like because your actions will have consequences.
Correct.
Would it have like a butterfly effect sort of thing?
It could. Yeah. It definitely could. Yeah.
Certain things, like maybe if you spare a gang member from the other gang, you gain favors with them later on.
Help something
you.
like that. Yeah.
Cool, man. That shit sounds dope.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
How long would you say the game would be? Like, how many hours would you say like the game would take for you to beat?
Look at the 20-30 hour game. Not too long. Yeah.
Just story.
Just story, like
not like collectives and everything. Collectibles.
No, I mean you could have collectibles like for example, like a chess piece that from playing with somebody or whatever, or like a baseball or something like that. But yeah,
that's cool. That's a cool story. All right, that's a cool story. Would it be like a main villain somewhere in there, or just literally just
no? Yeah, there's bosses in certain areas of the prison, so you have
to do boss fights, or it's just more like do things to get bypass them.
I mean, I don't know if boss fights specifically. Let's say for example, you're like about to escape and a fucking riot breaks out. So you're
Okay,
trying
okay.
to like get out of the riot, beat somebody up, to try to get, but let's say for example the person that you beat, it's somebody that you have to kill, to try to like steal something from the, so it's this whole thing of like
Okay.
chaos and whatever. So I don't know if specifically they're gonna be like boss fights, but they're gonna be like big moments inside the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Oh, cool. I like it. I think I'll play that game.
Yeah.
I'll play that game. Do you have a name for it?
No.
Okay.
None of this, like all of this, I came out like in the last few minutes before we starting because I don't do my homework. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man, I love the idea. I think I like the idea a lot in the sense of a game within the jail system.
Yeah.
That you really have to put in a lot of work into it. I like it. So I did come up with a name for mine, which is called the Unholy Sancti, which is kind of a
It's a badass name.
yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like it contradicts itself in a way, but whatever. Let's not get into it. Let's get into the game.
Yeah.
So this would be a horror action game in a way, right? But I really wanted to take one of my favorite gameplays. It's God of War, right? Also Uncharted, right? And The Witcher. So not necessarily I'm combining all of them, but I kind of would put a little bit of each.
Wait, sorry, which God of War?
The last ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because there's a little bit more up close. Still very action, very like visceral, but still very up close. You follow the story of an exorcist for the Vatican. Okay. And the idea is that as this exorcist, you're kind of like a Constantine sort of player. And the Vatican keeps on sending you to do missions, right? As an exorcist, you're sent to be doing missions where you're going to run into demons, deities, and eventually you run into like some of those typical myths that we see, like maybe La Llorona and stuff like that, like some cool little, how do you call those?
Like spectral beings.
Yeah, but like those are like cultural myths and stuff like that, right? From like different parts of the world. Like you can add those monsters, so it's like really cool because it's kind of like an interpretation of the artist to do
like a chuksun, like a Korean toilet.
Yeah. So you make those really cool. So the idea is that you start doing that, but as you're playing the game, as you're doing this exorcisms across, you start finding out that the Vatican has secrets on its own. So as you're going through, you start picking up things, and then you're like, okay, but they keep on sending me to do this shit, but like, why do they keep on popping up? And like, why is they like nobody knows about these? Like, it's very secretive. Like, you go and you do your thing, and you have
you're
to,
like in a secret branch of the Vatican.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're like the secret ones. You're like the exorcist of it, and then you start finding out like the church, right? The Vatican has so many like deep in within, and obviously, I'm sorry, this is probably not the best time to say this, but the villain would be the Pope.
Oh yeah. I kind of guessed that if the villain was gonna be the Pope,
right? Because he's the one. He's
especially the one that just. But no.
He's the mastermind hiding all the secrets and basically guiding everybody to distribute these exorcists across. So you kind of go into kind of like the I guess you could call like the climax is kind of like an unholy war within the Vatican of like the rebellion of like some of these exorcists. Like, bro, like what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, why are you guys sending us to exorcise all these monsters and shit? And the Pope kind of like being like, listen, we do the work that we had to do, and that's it. But you had to kind of like start going into it. And he also kind of got a little bit of inspiration of that Assassin's Creed game Revelations, where you're following. Is it Assassin's Creed Revelations or
I think it's
Assassin's Creed
Brotherhood.
3? Well, yeah, where one of the Medici brothers becomes the Pope, and he wants like the apple.
Yeah.
So it kind of has that little bit where like the Pope is like very corrupt. So like all these guys are like, all right. So you kind of have to come back, and little by little you start closing that circle until you eventually are like, all right.
But let me ask you. So would the Pope be like? Because what would be a great twist is that the Pope is actually like creating these monsters, like putting curses on people.
Oh shit!
To kind of like still like have like a religious control,
a belief, right? Like people have to believe.
Yeah. So he's the one that is actually conjuring those demons.
Yeah,
to
I like
to
that.
Actually, like
And you know what I really liked? The idea of like he could have like some puzzles like Uncharted when he gets to those areas, which is what these little puzzles that he gets, is what's still kind of like trying to help him, kind of like a not detective like, but kind of like little puzzles that kind of help him be like, all right, something is up, like something is going on here.
Yeah, like this is an artifact that we use as popes.
Yeah,
like what's going on? Like
exactly.
Why is it in this body? Yeah, bro,
that would be a cool
tight.
game. And like I said, a lot of like God of War action where like you're like really up close and visceral with some of these demons and stuff like that.
You know what would be awesome if they have like artifacts that would be like blessed. So kind of like in Jujutsu Kaisen, how they have like those cursed weapons.
Yeah.
So somebody like with, let's say, with a knife or a baton or a fucking cane
because
or whatever.
He wouldn't be a powerful person. It's not like he's gonna be manipulating like magic and shit like that. No. It's more like he has to figure it out, right? He's a normal dude that needs to fucking figure it out on his own, which is what makes the game even more intense, because you're like, all right, like
you really
have to, you really have to prep, like kind of like The Witcher. He preps like the gun, like the weapons, depending on the type of monster. He has to apply certain oils, so you have to really know who you're going against because you need to prep for that. And then it's the whole process of getting to that. So I think it would be pretty cool.
It would be like, what period of time would you make it?
I would say it would be somewhere like early times, like of the church. I wouldn't say like very recent, like modern.
So like 1400s, 1300s kind of stuff. Like
it would be like old school, where like they're trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on with the like it's like recent, like it's not like modern day. No, it's more like
ancient.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to figure it out, and that's why it makes it so much difficult, because they're like, what the fuck is going on? And they see these monsters that like, and then from this, the lore of these creatures comes. Like Llorona.
Like a bestiary.
Yeah, like a bestiary, where like, that's what the legend, everybody's like, oh, that's what the legend comes from, because these exorcists actually had to fight those.
That's fucking tight, right? Dude. I really like it.
And then nowadays we're like, oh yeah, remember like we used to hear like
the chupacabra kind of shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
And it's like, oh well, the exorcists of that time actually had to fight those monsters.
That is fucking tight, bro.
Right?
I really like it. I really like it.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be fucking tight. And what is the name of it? The Unholy Sancti?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it would be dope game.
That has a fucking badass name, and the whole story sounds fucking cool as hell.
I think it would be cool. I would play it.
I would play the fuck out of it too. Yeah.
And then again, if it gets executed well and it has like that visceral gameplay where like you're like, you feel like it, but you also feel like you're like in danger. Like when those games, like you feel like kind of like, like you're like, okay, my life is in danger too. Like that adds a lot more to it.
Nice. I like it. I really like it.
Cool.
So my second game also doesn't have a name. But it's like telling the story of like a soldier family through the ages.
Okay.
So you play, let's say, you play as soldier one, and then you go through like certain missions throughout history.
Okay.
Into modern times, and it's like the whole line of like family of what it's like for family, like a military family, to have to like that sense of like, it's honorable for you to die for your country, to die for your ideals, whatever. But it wouldn't be like just like a normal shooter, like oh fuck it, because if you die, it's permadeath.
Oh, do you die and you go into the next one, or that's
you
it?
Dying from the beginning, because you're dead.
Unforgiving.
Yeah,
that's fucking unforgiving.
That's unforgiving, but it makes you really like understand that they're not fucking around. It's kind of like almost real life. You know? Or like, I know permadeath is kind of like a lot, but I would also say like,
you could do it kind of. Sorry, this is just maybe a parenthesis. Kind of like Returnal, where like when they die, they kind of wake up again, and then some of the things that they are living again kind of change, but it's not like necessarily the beginning again. Okay, like where you have to relive, like redo everything, because you lose a lot of progress. Like let's say you're really far and you lose a lot of it, but rather like certain things start changing because you're kind of like waking up and like, oh fuck, I died. So
you're not just repeating the same level, but
certain things start changing from place.
Okay.
Where you're just like, oh, what the fuck?
Like the bullets were here. What happened? Or like a knife was there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
So you're not necessarily stuck on like, you're like really far into the story, and then you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
I lost 5 hours. I would fucking turn off my PlayStation. That's it, bro. I am not playing that game. I'll be like, bro, I almost fucking popped a vein playing Elden Ring. You think I'll play a game permadeath 10 hours into it and I'm gonna die. Fucking out of your mind, dog. I was like, no.
But like the whole thing would be like, you have a character in, like, let's say, like, if you want to make an American,
You sound so disappointed.
because
Because
the,
make an American.
the game is like, games are usually Americans.
Yeah.
So let's say, like, if we put it in the context of an American, let's say you're in like the Civil War, or like the Revolutionary War,
Okay.
and then the Civil War, and then World War One, World War Two, the Cold War. Let's say in the Cold War you have to be a spy, or you have to
cool.
different missions require different. Let's say, for example, in one you're infantry, and the other one you're in the air, and the other one you're a spy, and so it would change the kind of what you're doing, but still, like, the characters are very similar. They look very similar because it's a family. So yeah,
That's cool, man. That's cool.
and it kind of has that like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of thing. Yeah.
Would it be a first person? Would it be a
No,
third person?
Third person. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I really like it. I like the story. Like I said, the only thing is permadeath, bro.
There's gonna be a mode of a permadeath mode.
I am sure there's a lot of people that would be like, "Ooh, permadeath."
Fuck yeah.
They'll be like, "Ooh." That Christian Christian Bale here is like, "Ooh." Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people, because The Last of Us 2 has that, and a lot of people played it, and tons of tries, and I'm like, God, I can't do that. Even I think it was like Ghost Recon Wildlands had a permadeath option, and I was like, your character dies, and that's it. You have to create a whole new character, and I was like, oh God.
But
I was like,
like a mode that I believe was Battlefield 1, or like Battlefield, the one that is in World War 2 or World War 1.
I think it's Battlefield
1, right? Whatever. There's a mode in that game that I really liked, and is that AI would create certain names and like dog tags with like names and numbers. So every time you would die, you would see like the name, the dog tag, and like the number, and like a little story about that guy. And then you would come as another soldier, and then every time you die, you get a different soldier. So you get like little stories in between.
Cool.
So I'm like, damn, it's fucking tight.
That's really cool. That's really cool. It's really cool. Okay, well, yeah, man. I just don't add that. I wouldn't add that. I mean, you can add it as a mode.
Yeah.
Right? If you're really like, for hardcore fans, you could do it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'll be like, fuck that. Like XCOM. Like, your characters in XCOM die and you lose the character.
I've never played.
No, that's fine. It's like a tactical, but like, every time your characters die, that's it. And like, you can go on various missions with them, and you kind of start building them, and like, you can level them up, give them armor, kind of customize and give them names, and then you go into it and you die, and you're like,
fuck.
That hurt. Like, I remember I had a character one time that I think I went for like 10 missions with him, and he fucking got killed by a bomb or something like that. I think the aliens threw something, and he just got blown up, and I was like, eh. And I was like, this is it.
It's just that reminds me, and this is outside of it, is that every time we play Marvel Rivals, wherever there's a mine, Daniel always finds it. One of his catchphrases is like, fuck, I die by a mine.
I always step on the mine, and I stepped on the mine.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No. We're gonna have to like show some of gameplay footage of me stepping on mines, bro, because that'd be hilarious. All right.
Funny.
Okay, now going into the last game, right? It's called the Infinity Pages. Okay. Now the Infinity Pages, it's more centered in an adventure game. It's a very adventure game. Really would love to see a very Uncharted like gameplay on this one, because and it's gonna be set up in Europe and kind of like Italy. So the grandpa of the main character passes away, so he travels to Italy, where the grandpa Luca used to live, and he finds in the kind of like in the attic or something, he finds a bunch of books, a box filled with books. Now, this is very inspired by Split Fiction that just came out not long ago, but when you start opening the books, you start kind of reliving the story of the grandpa, the adventures. The grandpa was writing all the adventures, all the love stories, everything that he had. And you start kind of learning about your grandpa, right? Kind of connecting again
Kind
with
of
your
the like
grandpa.
Assassin's Creed, like Animus kind of shit.
Kind of, in a way, sort of. But it's more like you're kind of just reading the book and you're kind of just basically getting to know your grandpa through reading the books. And most of the environments would be kind of like more like Ghost of Tsushima sort of thing, like that beautiful environments. And it's kind of like all your stories of the grandpa, like exploring certain things, getting into trouble, right? Like going, being a young stud in like the early, I don't know, maybe in like the 20s or the 1910s in Italy, where he was going and dealing with like a bunch of people that he had to deal with, but also where the story starts taking a little bit of whimsical as the grandpa starts getting older and dementia starts kicking in. The books start taking a little bit of a weirder turn,
Like a that darker turn.
yeah, where you start understanding how like the disease started affecting your grandpa. So they start kind of like one way, but it's like very like a stud and the girls and the mob and like whatever you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And as you're progressing to the story, it starts going into like the story just starts to change into like the going into dementia and everything, where like you start now seeing unnatural shit happening and like really cool stuff, like really weird stuff happening.
Oh shit!
But maintaining that beauty in the game, kind of like those
Yeah.
Elden Ring really beautiful worlds where you're just like there, but you're then suddenly transported from nice place in Italy filled with like, I don't know, tulips or something, and then you're like in a cave full of like, I don't know, luminescent, rats or some shit, like weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, you start kind of, as the story is nearing the end, you start going more turbulent and the story, but you get to
Holy
know
shit.
the story of your grandpa.
You know, it would be awesome if, like, as the things go by, let's say, for example, you keep meeting people, but they start losing like facial features.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing.
So there will be one time that you're talking to somebody, but they don't have a face.
Yeah, because he can't remember.
Right.
So the grandpa always wrote, but he just couldn't remember.
Or let's say these people start looking the same and sounding the same, and like, or they would look like somebody that you knew, but with clothes from like the opposite gender or somebody, like, or like start getting really twisted with like, oh, I would love that.
And then you stop understanding what they're saying. So they're little by little, you're understanding less and less, and then the words in the books become blurs, and you're just like, what?
And even the environment start looking like, let's say, start losing saturation, or there are buildings that they don't. Why are they there? Or like, let's say, part of like or the, you know, be a really cool idea. Let's say you're doing a mission, and then you see on the back like a mission that you already did, and it starts getting erased.
Yeah. Because he forgot about it.
Correct.
And the part that will hit at the end, because I would like to still make it very emotional.
Yeah.
The part that hits at the end is all these books, like a quote, just all these books were written for my grandson. Kind of like leaving a message for the grandson. Like he intended the grandson to find these books all along.
Yeah.
Like the books were intended for him the whole entire time. It just hit because you just went through a lot of stuff, and then you also went through the horrors that your grandpa went through. Yeah. And it makes you feel emotional because you're like, fuck, like, damn, the ending was really rough.
You know, it'd be a great level. Let's say you're like, what would be the art style? Like kind of like watercolor paintings, like stuff like that, or like just realistic?
No, it could be like, I would like to make sure that it looks really beautiful. Like, but you can merge certain art styles into it.
Yeah, for sure. It would be awesome. It's if like, you know, it starts getting like scribbled or like really hectic shit, like kind of like Arcane, like where like the psychopathic friends of
no, absolutely. There's some parts where like it starts to lose the beauty of it a little bit sometimes because it just starts getting a little bit distorted, weird.
But there should be one where you're walking and you're walking and you're walking and you're walking, and there's a moment where it just goes, and then you see like a sepia page with nothing, and then you look back, there's nothing. You're just like, Grandpa, there's nothing to do until like, you know, 30 seconds after, when you start like when the actual player's being like, what the fuck do I do now? He just, and you just see, close the book, and you're like, holy shit. This is when he didn't remember even himself.
Yeah.
Oh, That's fucking beautiful, dude.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's fucking
I think
beautiful.
it'll be a beautiful game to play. It'll be a roller coaster of emotions because again, you start. I get so happy, so excited to read about your grandpa, like get to know, and you realize the books are about him, like his stories, and you're just like, yeah. And then again, they just start going more whimsical because he was losing it, and that's when you realize you're in the middle of the game when you start realizing, fuck, he was losing himself.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that would be a
that was beautiful. You know
great
what?
game.
You know what? Actually, the what is it? The Unholy Sancti reminds me of Control.
Yeah.
Where you could have. I know. I'm sorry. I kind of took a back page. I just thought about that shit. You know how in Control you have certain places where the whole building is completely changed, and you have like really like ethereal, very like just transcendental levels, and you have to purge them. It would be kind of something like that. So let's say, for example, you're in Japan, and you know you're dealing with like yokai, or you know something like that, and then you're seeing like the colors being different and the trees being different, like different art styles and shit. And you have to purge it to kind of like make it all kind of like the same again.
Absolutely. You know, I thought could be cool, maybe, I don't know if it gets executed well, because you know it's set in a older time where like everything is kind of more like feudal, but like when you for some reason finally are ready to confront the Pope and everything, it does not look like it's feudal. It looks more modern, like it's like a place that has been, you know, like different. Like it looks completely different. Like it doesn't look old. It doesn't look, you know, kind of
like
saying?
A timeless place.
Yeah. And you just enter and you're like, holy shit, like
the fuck is
I never
place?
been here.
Yeah.
But everything else look old because obviously it's really
keeping
old
with the times.
Yeah. But when you enter that building, it's like, okay, I've never been on this side of the building. So now you realize something is really fucking weird. And then,
like it.
Until you find the Pope and it's like,
bro, I would fucking play all of these games.
Yeah,
I would fucking play
great.
all of these games.
Yeah. I would play all
because
of
even like the one with escaping the prison is very like GTA-ish.
Yeah, no.
And it has like that mafia GTA bully kind of stuff.
So that's something that I forgot to ask about that one. In terms of the gameplay, what kind of gameplay inspired you? Because like I said, mine are heavily inspired by Uncharted, just because I love the exploration of the world in Uncharted and the way that the character moves so naturally when he's moving around. I just love that.
Yeah. So what for mine would be like, there's different, like for example, something like very like Thief.
Okay.
Or
so that's something like a first person.
That's first person, yeah. But like I'm talking about like the kind of stuff that you have to do, or like Hitman.
Okay.
Or like stuff like that, like things that are.
Sorry, just thought about it. Kind of like Hitman, where like you know he has so many options of killing somebody.
But you have many options of like, you know, let's say for example like. Removing a guard from a specific place. Yeah. So you could kill him, or you could bribe him, or you could threaten him, or you could like you know, you could have somebody beat him up, but you just have to remove him from that place.
Oh shit. Okay. I like that. All right, cool. Well,
thank you so much for being with us. And if you have any pitches, like I said at the beginning, if you have any pitches for movies or games, or maybe you could correct some stuff that we have, some new ideas. Yeah,
or add to it.
I would love if you guys, because at the end of the day, you know, this is a collaborative effort. We want to hear from you guys. You guys want to hear from us. So please, let's make it even more collaborative, and hopefully, who knows, maybe we can make this. Maybe, you know,
I would love that.
You know, somebody sees it that has, you know, connection, would be like, oh, you know what, that would be a really cool thing. Let's make it. Who knows? Thank you so much, you guys. We really enjoyed this. Where can they find you on social media?
Oh, you can just find me as Dan Valder in social media. That's it.
Yeah, for me, it's Juan Fe Sierra or Juan Fe Sierra Cortez. You want to sign us off?
And just don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you leave your comments down below, and we'll see you next Monday.